Very shortly, Jagex will be updating the game with a pretty major balancing update, which in my opinion will be great for the game. I won't be going over everything in this video as it's way too much to cover, but you can see the full list of proposed changes on the Reddit, which is with a link in the description, and you can see the thoughts of myself, Glenn, Ryan and Suggestion in the Friends of Alfred podcast, which I was a guest on last week, on the screen and in the description as well, where we go over everything in near forensic detail. What this video will cover, however, is what is left of Sustain. In the update, healing cards that were hit took around 20% of their rewards away, and while many of them are still viable, there are options that were in the game already and were just unsearched, and that's because these are currently underplayed because of the rampant dominance of Kalaramancer and Fledgling and Futetsu and others. So, without further ado, let's begin. 2 gold for 7 health, Rummerly Weaklax is a great value. And the fact that this card fell out of play is testament to how ridiculous this current situation with Sustain is. To play this, you do need a little bit of gold to generate, but 2 gold isn't really that much, and you can easily gather it using things like Caliphate Emissary and Barbarian Warrior and Troll Chucker, or even Malzada Mad, so you don't really need dedicated gold cards in order to make use of this Sustain card. Think back to your starter decks. This card works and will still work. Dark Rub. When you're not running armor, such as in most decks for Ozan and Ariane and Venescular and Linza, then 1 gold for 6 health is fantastic value, among the very best in the game. And for those decks with armor, it's still worth considering, as all you need to do to get the full effect is play this before building up your armor, or against certain decks like Venescular or Ariane, 1 gold for a 4 net health gain might seem like a great deal. So Dark Rab is definitely going to be worth considering, and the fact that it's only 1 gold as well means that all the talk that I just did about Romney Relax being able to play without dedicated gold gen applies doubly, literally doubly, to Dark Rab. Fishing Trawler is the card for the legend that just wants to be left alone. In terms of gold spent, Fishing Trawler is perhaps the best value support sustain card in the game. Play it and you get 3 Monkfish added to your hand, which each heal 8 to yourself and 8 to your rival. Now, if you're pure AP sustain deck, then giving health to your rival is of relatively little consequence, making this an easy shoo-in. It also works well with Ariane decks, as it's one of the few cards in the game to give 3 cards in hand, which gives it great synergies with all her card hand plays such as Earthwave decks. Oh, and it's a ship, so it activates Mufasa and it can be played for free using Meg. You can also draw it consistently using Redbeard Frank if you really fancy, but Monkfish are also one of the only 2 cards in the game to heal your rival, with the other being Ariane's Gnome Healer. So play either of these 2 at just the right slot and you can stop mortal effects from activating. This card has relatively high gold cost however, and its unique effects mean that you do have to think very carefully about your deck design when you're wanting to include this, but it's most certainly one to consider. Venescular's Afflicted is one of the only cards in the game that can take you to max health from 1 HP. It works off the attack of your rival's next creature. The catch, while it is griefable and the heal is so inconsistent. Your rival might play a Ketzek, they might play a KGP agent, they might play no monster whatsoever. The healing variance is insane. Because of that, I wouldn't recommend running this as your sole heal, but in a Venescular deck you're normally stealing health from your rival anyway, so perhaps it's an easy chew-in, but in a big monster matchup, the healing potential of this card is unrivaled. You can easily heal 20-30 health each time you play it. 0 cost, gain 2 health. Oh, but you also, gaining health equals your rival's attack. How often have you faced players that build up to 8, 9, 10 or 15 base attack? Anticipation laughs in their face, healing up all the damage from their strikes and their battles that they throw you in a single slot. Combine this with Ice Nihil and you can counter almost every AP stacking deck in the game. Now, in the early game or against low AP decks, this card does come up lacking, but at 0 cost, that's not so much of a problem as it could otherwise be. Sourdough Brew, another card that can take you from 1 to 30 health. The catch, well, it's 4 gold and it requires a stack of armor for a good effect. For Dunderking's Cannon decks, however, this is just a must include. And even with a mid-sized armor stack, you're still going to get 10 or 20 health in a single slot, which is among the very best in the game. You can also draw it out because of its potion synergies, and if you really want to spend it in a Mambo deck. But this is it's a great card, and it's one that's definitely worth considering if you're a Raptor. Billback. Oh well, okay, this really isn't a heal, as your rival can often be on lower HP than you, but most of the time you want to heal up, your rival is on a higher HP, so it's worth mentioning. But this card is the hardest monster to kill in the game. It's got high attack and insane health. The rewards are commensurate to these stats, however, and going up to full HP with an extra 2 AP to boot is quite spectacular. Personally, I wouldn't craft this diamond card, but if you happen to draw it, it's worth building a deck around, testing it out, see how it fits in, as you can catch a lot of people off guard. Talking about high health monsters, we have the gluttonous behemoth. This is the biggest monster in the game, and it's one of the only other cards that can set you right up to full health. It doesn't work on any plays by your rival either. This is just, can you kill the behemoth without dying or not? If you can, you go up to full health and you get free gold, which is quite nice. The best way to play this is to kill it in a combo, or at least weakening it. Destroy from Raptor works great, Sugar works well too, as does any card that reduces your monster's attack. Now, notice this says maximum health and not 30 health or not set to your rival. This is maximum health. That means that if you increase your health with something like Vampire Power or Level Up, you'll go up to your new maximum, which means that this card can actually heal 39 health in one slot. It's well worth considering. Commander Ziliana is another massive monster, but as we have seen from Hope Devourer, 13 health is a lot easier to reach into than you might expect. At 7 AP you'll 2-shot this, which is 3 AP with a Num or a Samarakian Brew, or alternatively you can kill this from 5 AP and the weapon from a giant spider. Doesn't look so scary now, does it? Now, this is going to give you 12 health reward and 7 gold. The 12 health will mean that even if you take one hit, you're still going to get a decent heal out of it, and that 7 gold is nothing to sniff at all. You can use that on your full Tetsus or whatever, and even though full Tetsu now is perhaps not the best card in terms of gold spent and health gained, it's still great for the slot value. So if you really want big heals, Commander Ziliana is a great card to consider. He's the heal that Lindsay needs, even if it's not the one she deserves. 2 gold plus weapon durability is actually pretty darn good, especially considering the card has a cost of 0. Don't overlook this now, I'm not joking. With a good few cards dedicated to durability, you can rack up to 6 or 7 easy enough, making this a great slot value card. In a herd weapon deck though, this thing stands out hugely. You can build up to 12 or 16 durability with relative ease using things like Dragonforge, and then this little dwarf will see you through most anything thrown at you. Great card, very underplayed. Oh, and finally, we have Rock Crab, Ravenous Stale, Cabbage, Lobster, Meerditch Prisoner, and others. All these are tiny cards with next to no risk to playing and heal for just that little bit. These are an easy shoe-in for all those low attack aggro decks, and I know 3 or 4 health doesn't look like a lot, but they're a great way to fill up those deck slots that are not core to your deck, and they're never going to be dead cards, and sometimes those extra little healths, that tiny little pieces, can make the world of difference. That's all the cards I'm going to be covering here, but the keenest observers amongst you will have noticed a great omittance. I've covered about 10 cards here, and all of them are viable sustain cards in their own right in decks that are suited to them, and not one of them is based around armour. Think how many armour cards are left there in the game. Think about how many armour cards are left there in the general pool alone, and then let that thought stew around for a moment. Oh, and a final thing. In the background, I've been playing a Morvan Caliphite deck, which is a AP sustain deck, mad sustain really. This card doesn't use any of the cards mentioned here below, and after the upcoming nerf, it will have a total of 4 less health in it. Just 4. Sustain is dead. Long live Sustain.